Hi, Sarah. Welcome to Solopacker. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, I good. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to hear what our conversations will bring.
Awesome. Like Solopacker, at the Solopacker, we've been thinking, talking a lot about the traveling, especially solo female traveling. So we would like to hear more of your stories and maybe experiences you had during your traveling.
I actually started traveling at a very early age.
Okay.
After I graduated from, I would say just before I graduated from high school. So I
Mm-hmm.
started with going to little places near Singapore where I'm living in, little islands like in Malaysia, etc. And then after I graduated, I became more adventurous and started traveling on my own.
Can you share maybe with the travel experiences that had you that you were so impressed that you still remember today?
Hmm. I have I have quite a number of memorable ones, but I would say at the top of my head, the first one would be the one where I went to Sagada. So Sagada is a um, co- mountaintop community in the
Mm-hmm.
Philippines.
Oh,
However,
okay. I've never
yeah,
heard about it.
yeah, it's well, I've never heard about it until I started to Google wonderful places to visit in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to Philippines to be my first solo traveling country because it is where I'm from, but I know zero about. Because the only time I go back to the Philippines is to visit my family. That's the
Mm-hmm.
main point of traveling. But this time, I was deciding to visit my family, but at the same time, take a large, well, just a few number of days to experience a different side.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really exciting because I had to take the bus in the middle of the night, and it's incredible because I took it at 12 midnight in Manila all the way to this place called Dangwa,
Mm-hmm.
and so I arrived in Dangwa at 5 a.m. in the morning. So
Oh, so it was still dark.
it was still so dark,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I was a little scared actually because
Right.
it's my first time traveling in the Philippines, and there was no one around me. So I went to a restaurant, thought, okay, maybe I'll get myself a coffee or
Mm-hmm.
some breakfast. And there were two drunk men inside that restaurant, and they started to chat me up. So and they were speaking a language that I didn't know. So in the Philippines itself, they have many different, I would say,
It's
dialects.
yeah.
I think
Tagalog is
that's
the main
correct.
language, right?
Yes, Tagalog's the main language, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
language I speak. But
Okay.
in Dangwa itself, it was a different language because it was a different
Mm-hmm.
province. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not wrong, they speak Visayas.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is
So
it very different from Tagalog?
well, it's very different. Yeah,
Okay.
it is very different.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how we get very different dialects.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I couldn't understand. So I think they figured out I wasn't from there, and they started to chat me up, and straight up they said, "Ah, you're not from here. You speak Tagalog," and
Mm.
like, "Ah, okay," and I mean I said, "Oh, hello," and stuff like this, but I was very hesitant to say more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, the first thought of my mind when I wanted to travel was to experience different things, just to have an adventure. But then at the start of my travel, I started to think more. I started to think more about safety.
Mm.
So and it wasn't on my list at all. But when these two drunken men started to speak to me, I was like, oh, I should have thought about taking a midnight train, arriving at
Yeah.
5 a.m., and whether that
Mm-hmm.
would have been safe. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but it was great because at 7 a.m., so I was there for 2 hours. At 7 a.m., the bus to go up
Mm-hmm.
to Sagada arrived.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and actually, it was these two men who told me, "Hey, your bus has arrived." So I guess they were not so dangerous after all. They were looking
Right.
out for me. Yeah.
So
Uh,
it's interesting that it's actually, is it part of Filipino culture? Like, do you have to say hello to everybody? Because, for example, in Kyrgyzstan, usually if we see not even drunk men, just regular men,
yeah.
we don't have to say hello actually. We can just, you know, keep ignoring.
Uh,
Yeah, we don't have this, I think, in my culture. Is it like that in yours?
yeah, it's funny because I think I've lived in Singapore for so long, so the kind of culture I'm accustomed to is really Singapore's, where I mind my own business and you mind your own business. I don't have to
Mm,
say hello to you, etc. But I
mm-hmm.
think in the Philippines in general, they're just really friendly people, which I wasn't used to. I mean, I'm always just visiting family and friends, but really in the Philippines, I've noticed that, especially if you're a tourist, they're very happy to say hello and help you. Uh,
Mm,
yeah, I mean, whether or not it's for business is a different question, but it's really a very different experience for me, and I wasn't used to it, and I guess that was why I was a little apprehensive about
mm,
talking more where I'm from. I was afraid I was going to get cheated, but
mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a wonderful first experience. Now I think about it, it's like, yeah, that's the start of my adventure, right? Having to speak
Mm-hmm.
to strangers who just approach you out of nowhere. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
How did you know
yeah.
about this place? Because usually when we hear about Philippines, we hear about the beaches.
Mm.
Yeah. I've never heard
Yeah.
about a mountain. I didn't know there was a mountain in Philippines.
Mm. Exactly. Well, I think Philippines is one of those really blessed countries. If you want the beach, you have the beach. If you want the mountains, you have the mountains. If you want caves, you have the caves.
Mm-hmm.
Just a fun fact: Philippines have 7,107 islands, so you will
Wow.
never run out of things to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's really a wonderful country to visit, and
Mm-hmm.
each time I visit, I just experience something new. It's a one.
Mm-hmm.
It's. I would say that if you're a first time traveler
Mm-hmm.
and you want an easy country to travel, Philippines will be one of them, because everyone, I would say 99% of the population speaks English.
English. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you need help with like translation, directions, etc., so Philippines is going to be a very easy country to travel
Mm-hmm.
in, and a beautiful one too. So I found out about Sagada because my cousin went there with a bunch of his friends, and
Mm.
his photos look so amazing on Facebook. So I went
Mm-hmm.
to ask him, "Hey, where did you go? Where is this place?" And he said it was in Sagada, which is a
Mm-hmm.
mountaintop community
Mm-hmm.
in the Philippines. And I thought, okay. So then I started to research more about the place and how to get there. Basically, that's it. And I thought, okay, when am I going to go back? So when the next time I went back, I decided, okay, I'm gonna take a bus, hop on a bus, and
Right.
go to that mountaintop. So
Mm-hmm. Was it quite cold at the top?
it was. Well, I arrived after I took the bus at 7. I must have arrived there at about 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still hot because it was in the afternoon, but because it was the mountaintop, it was very windy.
Mm.
Yeah, so I think it was cold, not because there's no sun, but because it was just a mountaintop. But then at night it was super cold. And
Mm.
I mean, I was in the Philippines, right? Philippines is
Right.
like, it's kind of like a humid country. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't bring anything with me, like a
Mm.
pack. So I was covering up my blanket the whole
Oh.
time. Yeah, I didn't expect it to be so cold. So that was
Mm.
another aspect that I didn't check the first time I'm traveling was,
Mm-hmm.
at first I didn't check on like how safe it was, and second I was like,
Right.
I didn't check the weather, so I didn't have appropriate clothes. I just
Mm-hmm.
brought clothes for my sports activities.
Did you stay there in a hostel or hotel? Like,
Mhm. I stayed in a bed and breakfast.
oh, okay. It's on top
Yeah.
of the mountain.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
So
So the
when
views
I,
must have been great.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
view's incredible. And it
Mm-hmm.
was really cheap too. I
Mm.
remember it cost me around 300 peso,
Oh,
which
really?
was, if you divide it by say 38, I
Mm-hmm.
think about maybe about 50 dollars.
300 Filipino pesos. About
Wow,
$6.
my math is so bad.
I think it's about $6, no?
It's about, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Wow, that's really cool. Usually when I think about the top of the mountain, it's like, I don't know, even a hostel, I think, must have been like at least $20 or something.
Oh no, the Philippines was really cheap. I
Mm,
mean, I thought it was cheap because I came from Singapore.
right.
And the good thing about this area is that the price is constant for everyone. So it doesn't matter if
Mm.
you're a Filipino, it doesn't matter
Oh,
whether you're Canadian, American, or coming from Australia. The
mm-hmm.
price is fixed for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Like
Is
they
it?
won't charge you extra uh,
Mm-hmm.
because you're coming from a foreign countries, which happens a lot in Southeast
Yeah,
Asian countries,
yeah,
or
yeah,
maybe, yeah.
definitely.
I guess
Is
it's
it?
the same there. Like the
Yeah,
price
it's
is
same
different,
here.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, the price
Yeah,
is
even the
different.
entrances to the museums, for example, like art galleries or something, we always have a foreign price and local price.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
I mean, the difference is not as much if you compare with neighboring countries like Uzbekistan, for example, where it can differ 10 times more sometimes.
wow.
But there is a difference as well. So is it fixed? Are the prices fixed all over in Philippines?
Well, I think it's beginning to be fixed for a lot of
Mm,
the places. For example, in Boracay too. Boracay is a little bit more expensive. It's a very famous beach destination,
mm,
internationally, not just domestically.
mhm.
And yeah, for a while now, they've made it mandatory be um, to offer the same price for both domestics and internationals. I think also because Philippines was getting a reputation of cheating off the foreigners. Like the price was too high, and it wasn't a reputation that Philippines was willing to risk. But I
Mhm.
would say that they're doing most of the popular destinations are doing a good job
Mhm.
standardizing it. Yeah,
Okay, I see.
yeah.
Wow,
And
that's
is it
cool.
the same for your country too? Are they standardizing it now, or no?
Not really. Like if you compare with Philippines, in Kyrgyzstan, tourism is just developing. So it's only in 2012 when our government established visa-free regime to about 50 European countries. So since then, we had like inflow of tourists. Like the number of tourists have increased much more than during previous years.
Yeah.
But it's only been like what 8 years, and
Mm,
still like the first maybe 5 years people had a lot of questions like is it safe
mm,
for traveling, especially many women
mm,
sending questions on the travel platform, is it safe for a solo female traveler, like how does it work. But during the past few years we have an organization called USAID. They did
mm,
quite a good job attracting bloggers and like publishing more information about traveling here. So
yeah.
yeah, so it's growing. Yeah, but
Oh,
of course
that's
it's
nice.
it's not comparable like with Philippines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the beauty of it, right? Because it's
Mhm.
still developing as a
Still
tourist
develop.
attraction. There's so
Right.
much opportunities for you if
Hmm.
you are one of the pioneers to be on board the tourism
Yeah.
industry. I mean, the
Yeah.
borders are closed now, but I can imagine that, once the borders are open again, the virus is over, for people to start traveling to
Mm-hmm.
this, taking the risk and travel to these unknown places. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
hopefully.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
would you rate Philippines? Like, do you consider it like safe country to travel, especially for a solo female traveler?
I think, like I've mentioned earlier, I think Philippines is one of the easiest country to travel in if
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for, one of the first few countries you want to travel, and that's because the language, everybody there, well, I would say 99% of them almost speaks English,
Mm-hmm.
especially for um, in the tourist destinations.
Right.
uh, it's a compulsory second language for Filipinos.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of safety, I would say that, I mean, in comparison to Singapore, uh, it's maybe a tad low, but I think in comparison to other Southeast Asian countries, Philippines is relatively safe. And I think if you want to just be ultra safe, make sure you research the place that you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a popular destination like Boracay, Cebu, Bohol, even Sagada if you want a little bit more extreme and willing to take the time to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so make sure you just research the place thoroughly. Um, there's going to be plenty of places to visit, and being safe at the same time, where other fellow tourists are going to be around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I
you
see.
should come and visit actually.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, it's actually in my list. It's on my list of countries to visit.
Oh,
Philippines. Yeah,
nice.
I've heard quite a lot about it, and yes, I also agree with you that you don't really see, like, when you look at the people, you don't really feel like they're very religious. But
Mm.
actually, yes, I think people, like, I've read some of the history, how, for example, the president, like changes of the president, and
Mm.
like what kind of policies they did, sometimes very harmful to the society, but nevertheless, like, usually the population is very forgiving. And
Mm.
usually that's like, I think that's a big part of the religion there.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I would say that if I were to describe Filipino people, they think with the heart, not so much on the head. Yeah, so when it comes to when it comes to policies, they think a lot of like, oh, how is it going to impact me? And then they start to get hurt, and they start to, get protest, and be very verbal about it. But after a while, as long as you apologize, some president apologizes and
Mm.
under and I would say really explain why his policies is such. They're
Mhm.
really super forgiving
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
the politicians. I mean, it's
Mhm.
been proven many times when it
Mhm.
comes to Philippine policy. So
Mhm.
it's incredible how I would say Filipinos are one of the most um, amicable people to
Right.
be with. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, coming from a Filipino who lives in Singapore, I don't
Mhm.
have much Filipino friends, so always coming back to the Philippines is very heartwarming.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
see.
Mm.
Okay, well, also, when I usually visit a country, I like
Mm.
going hitchhiking. Mm.
Ah,
Yeah. How would you
hitchhiking as in like get a ride from
like
someone?
get the ride from someone? Usually
Oh,
it's a free ride.
oh yeah, but
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's incredible. Have you hitchhiked before?
Yeah, I hitchhiked
Where?
in Caucasus, in Iran.
In Iran.
Yes. Yeah,
And there
in
were
Iran as
people
well.
who stopped to
Oh,
pick you
yeah,
up?
yeah. I mean, sometimes like drivers stop and they don't understand what you're doing. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, sometimes they ask for money, or, for example, we had one driver at that time. I was hitchhiking with one French that I met
Yeah.
at the hostel, And the drivers, they were like, "Oh, what happened to you? Like, did somebody rob you? Like, yeah, you don't have money. Do you need help?" And they're like, "No, no, no, it's fine. We are just hitchhiking, like from this point to this point, and that's it. We have everything, like, yeah, we just need a ride." And yeah, they were quite surprised. And I remember when we stopped by the gas station, and I went to buy a drink. So one of these drivers, he followed me, and he offered me to pay for my drink. And I was like, "Oh no, it's fine. I have money." Yeah, it was very unusual concept for locals.
Wow. Wow. So would you
Yeah.
consider, I mean, I wouldn't think of traveling to Iran. It isn't on my list. But how would you say your experience was?
Yeah, it was really great actually. I've been dreaming of going to Iran for a long time because I work at the hostel, and I have quite a lot of travelers, and whoever came traveled to Iran, all of them were like so super positive. They had a really great time, and some of them shared really cool stories. So I was really looking forward for my visit there. And yeah, in my experience, is the most hospitable country that I've ever been to.
Oh,
Yeah, it's for example, you're just walking on the street, or you're just standing, you're just
yeah.
standing somewhere, and then some local will approach you and like, "Hi, how are you? Where are you from? Welcome to Iran. It's very good to have you here. Like, let me know if you need any help," and something like that. If it's short, if it's longer, and if you keep talking to each other, then sometimes they would say, "Oh, welcome to my house. Have some
Yeah.
tea before you leave."
Wow.
Yeah, and we just met like 5 minutes ago. So
And they already invite you to go to their
yeah,
house.
yeah, exactly. Yes,
Oh,
but
that's incredible.
even though one thing to remember, if you're traveling in Iran, there is a thing called taruf, which
Taru.
means that if somebody offers you something, or if they invite you to their home, for example, you shouldn't
Yeah.
say yes from the first time. Usually you should say no, no, from the first two times, and you should, if the person keeps insisting, then you should say yes from the third time.
Ah, and what's the purpose of that?
Well, it's like being polite, because they feel ashamed if kind of they feel like they should have offered you, but you like it's showing respect, like polite from their side, and then
Okay.
you should also show kind of
So,
politeness on your side, so you should
yeah.
also refuse from the beginning. So
Okay, so
maybe
they're
they're saying out of politeness, yeah.
so their offer of like, yeah, would you like to have some tea in my house? It's something like, how are you? It's
Kind of,
just a
yes.
normal thing for them to
Yeah, it's a
offer.
normal thing. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I take note of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually,
You've got
yeah,
me
it's a good.
intrigued.
Yeah, it's a good note actually, because I didn't know about it. I didn't read that. Usually, I don't read much before I travel about the country. So this time also, I didn't know about it. So at the beginning, they're like, "Oh, you want this?" I'm like, "Yeah." "You wanna go here?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Say yes to everything until I
Yeah,
knew
true.
about it, and then when I knew, I was like, "Oh no, it's okay, it's okay." And then if only they keep insisting, then no,
Mhm.
then you should say yes.
Okay. And would you consider Iran to be a safe country to visit? I mean, hospitable, yes, but in terms of safety, were you ever threatened or anything at that point?
No, I
Point?
wasn't threatened. I would say that it's okay. Like as a solo female traveler, maybe it's not very safe. Yeah, it's yeah, especially hitchhiking. I had a few unpleasant experiences while I was traveling.
Okay.
But usually, that's when you're traveling alone as a woman. If you're traveling together, like as a couple, for example, or if it's men traveling, then it's fine.
Okay. So I'll
Yeah,
make sure I bring a partner when I travel to Iran.
yeah, yeah. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like it's like for me when people starts to become so friendly during my travels, I always have a suspicion like maybe they want to cheat me or they want
Mhm.
something out of me. So I'm always very hesitant. But so far one of the I'll just share an experience because we went
Sure.
to Myanmar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not. Have you heard of Myanmar before?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So when I went to Myanmar with a partner actually,
Mm-hmm.
and we were well, I went to a temple in Bagan, like a small temple, just to check out how things were. And then a local started to went in, and he started to pray. So I left the temple and let him did his praying. But after I left, he actually followed, and he started to say, hello, how are you, where are you from, etc. And my partner was also beside me. At first we were a little hesitant to continue the conversation, but he seemed really friendly and very genuine. And he started to say, he started to tell us about beautiful temples in Bagan that other tourists have never been before. And I mean, the two of us, it was our first time in Myanmar. We've never we had a scooter, but we didn't know much where to go. Everywhere looks kind of like the same, beautiful, but kind of like the same. So we're kind of we're a little afraid to travel out of the comfort zone. So having someone there who seemed genuine and offering to bring us around, we decided to follow him. And it's like, yeah, okay, we'll follow you on our scooter. So we were there, and he brought us to a very, very beautiful temple in the inner woods. And though it was a temple where you can climb from outside. So you know how you have this image of a temple, you go in, you see maybe statues of Buddhas, etc. But this was a temple where you can climb from above. Yeah, from the outside, from the surface. So it was really something. Yeah, it's something different for us, and we were very happy that he showed us, and we kept saying thank you. And then he brought us to another temple. I mean, he even took photos for us, like really great, amazing photos. And then he said, okay, well, let's show you to another one. And this time, before when we entered the temple, he started to show us his paintings. He said he's a painter. He started to show us his paintings. And then at first it's like, okay, we're happy to see your painting, and we're saying it's so beautiful, it's really nice. And genuinely, we sincerely thought it was very nice.
Right.
And then he started to push us to buy his paintings. And it was paintings for like 20. At first he started to say some other price, but ultimately he said 20 USD for one. And my partner has such a soft heart. He is like, should I buy or not? And he kept looking at me for approval. And I told, I felt we were stuck there, because he brought us to a very unfamiliar place where there's no place for us to run, right? There's no other people for us to turn to. It's just the painter, my partner, and I. So what do we do? Even though we didn't want to buy, we felt compelled to buy. And after we bought the painting, he went off. He rode off in his scooter and left the two of us there and to find our way out.
Wow.
So yeah, so I think it's just little experiences like this that makes you a bit more cautious when people, start to talk you up.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're sincere or not. Which is why I think, come with an open mind, but also stand your ground. I think just be careful. At that time, I was, I think, very fortunate to have my partner with me, so I don't feel so alone. But I can imagine the apprehensiveness for solo female travelers, especially if they're starting out. So I think it's very important to choose a country maybe a little bit more easier to adapt, and then go up from there.
That's a good tip, actually. It's I also have had a similar experience when I was traveling in Iran. Even actually at that time I wasn't even alone. I met a Swiss couple at the hostel, and we were walking around. Actually at that time we were eating ice cream in an ice cream shop, and the one local guy he also bought ice cream, and then he started talking to the Swiss couple, asking, "Oh, where are you from?" And then he was
Mm.
like, "Oh, I was just waiting for my uncle here, but while I'm waiting, I have like a little bit of time. If you want, I can show you around." Oh,
Okay.
he said there is like kind of a prayer happening
Mm.
right now, and it's free to enter, and it's really interesting. And I was actually hesitant to go. I had
Okay.
some experiences, and yeah, but the couple were like, "Oh, okay, sure, let's check out." I was like, "Okay, let's follow the guy," and we followed the guy, and we went to this prayer place. And then after that, he was like, "Oh, there is this little museum, which it's just, oh no, actually we went out, and then we saw a museum on the way, but we were just like planning
Yeah.
to pass over it. But he's like, "Oh, let's stop by here, this is really interesting, like you should not miss it if you haven't been here." We were like, "Oh, okay, we haven't been here, but it's closed." He was like, "Oh, no problem." He called the number, and then somebody came and opened this museum. It was actually around 8 p.m., I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we followed him, and then once we entered, there were about three men, I think, sitting by the cash, and we didn't know, like we had to pay for the tickets, but it was okay. They just wrote us the tickets, we paid for
Yeah.
it, and then once we paid for the tickets, we went inside. And we just walked for a few minutes, then he turned around and he said, "Okay, I'll take you further, but if you pay me like $20." I don't remember the exact amount, but yeah, he was like, "Yeah, you need to pay me for my guide service." We were,
What?
yeah, we were like, "Well, you didn't tell us. Like at the beginning, we didn't know we had to pay for the entrance. Then now
Yeah.
you're saying you need to pay for the guide service." And then we started negotiating with him. Well, I said, like we just paid for the ticket to enter, and then I don't mind walking around myself.
Mm.
Uh, but the couple, I think they also had a similar experience, so they just started negotiating with him.
Mm.
Like, "Oh no, let's make it cheaper. Let's. I think it was around 10 that we brought it
Mm.
down to."
Wow.
And yeah, and then he showed us around. But after that, I told him that we all told him that it's not fair, to do like that. Like, he
Yeah.
was so young. He was only like 18 or 19 years old. And we were
Okay.
like, we are just starting. You said you just want to work in tourism, but this is not the way that you should work. You should
Yeah.
let the people know in advance what's gonna cost what and how
Yeah.
it's gonna work, and not pretend like a friendly local who just wants to show you around. So
Mm.
yeah,
So
after
what did
some
he say?
lecture, he said, yeah, he's sorry, he will not do it again. But at that time, the couple, they paid him already.
Mm.
And I think, yeah. And I said, if you're sorry, you should give us back the money,
Yeah.
like that we will know for sure that he will not do it again. But he was like, "No, but I spent my time." Da, 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 da.
Mm.
I was like,
Mm.
"Oh, okay, no, that's fine." And yeah, and the couple were like, also, that's fine. But I really didn't feel like he's gonna do it again.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, there were some other cases also while I was
Mm.
traveling, and it's good that I wasn't alone at that time. That
Yeah.
things like this happened to us. Uh,
Mm.
so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the good thing about being a solo packer, isn't it? Because when you go to a country, you with the intention of traveling alone and etc., you meet a lot of people along the
Yeah,
way, and actually, at the end of the day, it's not so lonely anymore, because you experience things with other people. And I mean, even when I went to Sagada, I had the intention of going there alone, but I actually met a traveler from Malaysia, which is so close to Singapore,
mhm.
and he's been traveling avidly for 3 years. He quit his job and traveling full time. So, and then it
Mhm.
wasn't so bad anymore because we shared the expenses for a lot of things. A lot of entrances cost so much more as a person because it's going to be one-on-one guide, but if you have some other people with you, it's going to cost much less. And even with things like this, experiences, it's not so bad even if you go through a bad experience, it's not so bad when other people are with you. Like they say, misery likes company. So I think as a traveler, it's, at least for me, right? If I'm traveling alone, it's also very important for me to meet people from other walks of life,
Mm-hmm.
and I will tag along, with whatever experiences they want to do. And I think that's the whole purpose of um, one of the few purposes of traveling
Mm-hmm.
alone in the first place. So
Right.
yeah,
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 it's
that's
a,
true. When you travel alone, you get to meet more people actually than if you travel as a couple or like with
exactly.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you travel with friends, you kind of, or even as a couple, right? You know that you're stuck with the other person, and you have to take care of their needs as well, what they like to do, etc. Because you came with the purpose of being together. But if you're alone, you're open to many other opportunities. You can meet someone, meet a friend in the same hostel, but then realize that, okay, actually, I don't like that person very much. And then you can just
Uh,
say, oh, I'm sorry, I want to do this on my own, etc. So
yeah.
it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
When it
it's been
comes to yeah, when it comes to like when, for example, you get to meet people who you realize you don't want to travel with, what do you usually do? Like you've
oh, I
traveled
don't.
already, let's say you stay in the same hostel, you've traveled to a few places, and then let's say the third day you feel like, oh no, I don't want to travel with this person again. What do you do?
Well, like for me, I think it's also in my nature to not be, to not tell you upfront that I actually don't like being with you. It's not in my nature, but
Mhm.
I think I will say I will make up a lot of excuses. So, for example, when I was in New York, yeah, I was alone. I was there for a business trip alone, but I met someone. I can't remember where he's from. He's living in the UK. That's one thing for sure. And he
Mm,
was in LA because he loves the Americas, and he wanted to travel around. And so it was actually quite nice because when I went to Hollywood alone, that stretch, and
mhm.
I met him, and we started to talk. And actually, he's quite a amicable person. He's very nice. He's a pilot. He tells me what he did, um, and he told me that he on that same day he said, I really want to get um, a shake. I can't remember, Shake Shack or In and Out. It's one of the fast food restaurants.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
One
Mhm.
of the fast food restaurants
Right.
in the I have a feeling it must be Shake Shack. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
went to Shake Shack, we have dinner, and he started to, I guess, open up a little bit more
Mhm.
about his life, and there were some things that I didn't agree with. So much as he was a really friendly person, I just don't think we'll agree to a lot of um, other things when it comes to traveling. So the next day he was texting me a lot. He's saying, "Look, I'm going for a cycling trip. Do you want to come?" And I said, "No, I don't think I want to wake up so early, etc." And so that was an excuse because I mean, if I really wanted to go, I could wake up early, right? But I think it's more I didn't really want to spend a lot of my time with him. And then he also started to say, oh, okay, after cycling I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there. And I was like, actually I think I'd like to do something else, because my time here is so short, so I'll rather spend it somewhere else than in a museum, etc. So for me it's not like upfront, I'm sorry, I don't really like hanging with you, but
Mhm.
I would kind of make excuses to escape all the other plans you tell me to. So
Right.
I'm more of that kind of person, and I mean it's been successful so far. So
Uh-huh. Right.
I don't think my strategy will change too
Uh-huh.
soon. How about you?
Is it very common in Philippines? Like, are you guys more indirect rather than direct?
Mm, I'm
Like, for
not so
example, somebody asks you, "Oh, do you like it?" Like, is it, for example, for Chinese people,
yeah.
they say, usually they don't say straightforward, right? Even like when they
Yes.
want to say no, they don't say no, but they say maybe, and you know that it's no.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I think I'm not so sure whether it's a very Filipino thing. Well, but now I'm thinking maybe my mom and my sister, they're kind of like this. So yeah,
Mhm.
maybe it is. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Filipinos in general, we tend to be nice and don't really say no very often. But
Mhm.
it's, I think when it comes to this instance, I'm like this. But if there are some things I feel strongly about, then I will be more open to say no. It's a learning process.
Right.
Say no. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But I just have this feeling like I would rather. I mean, why leave a bad impression or a bad feeling
Mm.
to the other person?
Uh-huh.
Why don't it would have been better maybe if you sugarcoat it a little bit. So to me, my way of sugarcoating is saying like, yeah, I would like, I would prefer to do this, or sorry, I don't want to wake up too early, instead of saying no upfront. Actually, I don't want to spend too much time with you. I don't agree to a lot
Mhm.
of things you say. Yeah, I'm just that kind of person. So
Mhm.
yeah. And are you that type as well?
Actually, I'm more direct, I think. Well, I
Oh,
mean,
you
I
are.
think I am more direct. But like, last time we talked about with Ari as well about how to get rid of a travel buddy you don't want to travel with anymore. So
Mm,
I think I wish to be more direct,
mm,
but also usually, yeah, I try to avoid like having a maybe bad impression.
yeah.
So yeah, usually I also say, oh yeah, I in general, there are some
Yeah.
cases maybe when I say, oh, well, I never said I don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think usually more common more common phrase that I say is, oh, I want to do something else, or yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, for me, when my partner, he's more direct. If he's no, it's a no. Like, no, I don't want to go here, or I don't want to
Mhm.
eat this. Which I think an aspect that I really admire. Being able to say no is a skill. Being honest with how you feel is a skill. More in comparison to people, just sugarcoating a lot of things. But well, I guess as a
Well,
traveler for me, a solo traveler for me, I would prefer to be safe and avoid confrontations and just be nice, I
Mhm.
guess. When I was in China,
Mhm.
mm, I think we spent a long time. Like, I was traveling to Inner Mongolia, and there was a group of people that we met on the trip. And I think at night we were deciding what to do, and a lot of people, some people wanted to go here, and then another people just wanted to go to a bar. And we're trying to figure out like where, because it was everybody's first time, and also everybody's um, quite new to the place. So at first, a group of them was like, okay, we're gonna book cabs now, and we're gonna go to this club.
Mm.
And at that time, I'm like, I'm not so sure I want to go to a club. I like somewhere more quiet where I could speak to the people I just met.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, we're already booking the taxis. Do you want to come or not?
Mhm.
They started to get more aggressive, and to
Mhm.
me that was very confrontational, because in the first place I didn't ask you to book the taxi. So I
Right.
just started to walk and then wait for other people to follow me. So I mean, I had the mentality I'm gonna go to a bar. So and then I just waited, and seems like a whole lot more people wanted to go to a bar, but they didn't dare to say it out, um,
Mhm.
because the other guys were already starting to book the taxis. But when someone made the move to walk away, which was I, so which
Yeah.
was me. So they started to walk away as well and started to, we all ended up at the bar, and just a few of them ended up in the clubs. So they had to cancel
Mm-hmm.
all their frequencies.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think people who are too pushy with what they want to do, I'm not a very big fan. I think you should let people make the decision whether they want to come with you or not.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So just that. I mean, even in Sagada, I had the one of the guys that I've met as well, was we had different opinions about things, which was fine. It's I agree to disagree, but he was also very pushy with the things that he wants to do, and I didn't want to do it. And I told him, you know what, I think it's fine. If you want to do this, you can do this on your own, and I want to do this. And if you feel like you want to follow, you can come. If you change your mind, you can come. Like, to me, it's more of the choice is yours, and it's my choice to do what I want to do. Yeah, so
Right.
we can split ways. We don't have to be together all the time. I mean,
Right.
that's the reason why we decide uh, to do solo packing, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole purpose, is so that we don't have the headache of taking care of what the other person needs
Mm-hmm.
are. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm kind of the same.
Yeah. Which one was the most memorable for you?
The most memorable, like in terms of like experience or meeting somebody or
Yeah, in general, I guess,
in general.
traveling. Because
Let
you
me
would have
see.
traveled quite a bit already.
Well, I've been for like 15 countries so far.
Ah, okay.
Um, like it's not a lot, but usually when I travel, I like to spend 1 month in one country.
1 month. Oh, that's
One
a long
month.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually, yeah, because I sometimes I volunteer,
Mm,
and sometimes I just like to live in a village,
mm,
and yeah, and I started hitchhiking, and it takes quite a lot of time. Uh,
mm.
yeah, actually, hitchhiking is not easy. It really takes a lot of energy sometimes. Um,
Ah,
like it depends on how lucky you are. I mean, if you, for example, stop a car and then if it goes the same direction as you are, and for like I don't know, few hours, then you are lucky. You're like, oh, that's cool. I don't have
yeah.
to do it, again for a little bit. Like you have a little more time. But sometimes the car is only going for like 20 minutes. So can you
Mm,
imagine like getting in the car with your big backpack for 20 minutes? Then of course you cannot just sit, you need to talk. I mean, sometimes,
yeah.
like, usually you're quite excited, to talk about life and everything, especially if you
Yes.
speak the same language. But
Yeah.
sometimes it gets quite tiring. So you have to repeat kind of the same story
Yeah.
every like half an hour. So yeah, it can get tiring sometimes, but in general it's interesting. It's uh, yeah, it's let me see. I had
I
like
think.
at the top of my head, yeah.
Mm. What's it at the top of your head?
Yeah, at the top of my head, like as I'm thinking about the experience, maybe
I,
in Turkey.
in
I was
Turkey?
yeah, I was
Wow.
traveling. I always go alone. I travel
Mm,
solo, and this time as well I was in Cappadocia,
mm,
and I was staying in a cave hotel. At that time, I was a member of the Hostel Ambassador Association, so oftentimes I would get a free accommodation in
mm,
exchange for the review about the place. I would take some
mm.
pictures and then, yeah, provide more information about the place. So this time, oh, what was the name of this guest house? It was kind of like a guest house hotel. Oh, I don't remember the name, but it
It's
was
okay.
really interesting because it was in a real cave.
Oh, oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it was staying in a cave, and also Cappadocia is a place where you have balloons, hot
Mm.
air balloons. So, for example, if it's for me, it was kind of too expensive at the time because to fly once you need to pay like around $150 to $100.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no, that's too expensive. So, and as a cheaper option that you could do, you could go up the hill,
Okay.
and then watch the valley where the hot air balloons go up in the air. So, yeah, that's
That's it.
probably that's the memorable experience I had that I
Yeah,
still
I
remember.
think it cost 300 USD to fly that hot air balloon. I have a friend who
Mm.
did that, and I mean, her partner proposed in the hot air balloon.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, yeah, it's very it's quite magical, I would say. So, yeah, but they told me it costs so much.
Yeah, yeah, it's expensive.
Well, it's a once in a lifetime experience, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
They're willing to spend it, and you have so many other people with you. They were saying that they thought it will be expensive. They thought it will be kind of unsafe being in the hot air balloon with so many people, but they said it was very nice experience, and at at some point everybody's just quiet, so you could really take in the scenery of Turkey. So that was very nice.
Mm.
I think that will be in my bucket list. Yeah,
Yeah,
going on
yeah.
that hot air balloon. We didn't do it when we were in Myanmar.
Mm.
Yeah, it wasn't the season, which was quite unfortunate. I think it would have been a
Oh,
nice
do they
experience.
fly hot air balloons in Myanmar as well?
Yeah, they do. And could you imagine? It must be so beautiful because, like, Bagan is the old city, and they're just temples and temples and temples of, and it's all brown. Like,
Mm.
it's just the same colors but different shapes. So seeing it from on a top would be so different because I'm sure you'll be able to see the new city and the old city. It must be incredible, but yeah, we didn't get to see it, but we managed to see it from a top of a temple, like just the scenery of the whole of Bagan. It was super super nice. So I was like, even I was just thinking that how nice it would have been if it was on a hot air balloon, because it was already so nice on a temple.
Mm.
Yeah, just seeing the bird's eye view. But I think Turkey's hot air balloon would be another experience as well. I've seen photos and the landscapes are different, so it would be so nice. Yeah,
Mm.
but there's no other way around it if you're a tourist on a budget tour. Like you
Yeah,
still
yeah,
have to spend 300.
yeah.
Yes.
Actually, as we are talking, I just remember the experience I had with another travel buddy. Actually don't remember where he was from. I think, yeah, I don't remember whether England or somewhere in Europe. So I met this guy when I was traveling in India,
Okay.
and I think it was in Agra. We just met somewhere like in the middle, and yeah, I was traveling alone, and sometimes if I see foreigners and if I have to take a transport, then I'm quite direct.
Yeah.
In this case, I say, hey, do you wanna like share this, I don't know, rickshaw or this taxi? It
Yeah.
costs this much, and then we can share and then split the bill and like something. So yeah, I'm quite direct when it comes to this, and yeah, this guy was like, oh yeah, yeah, let's share.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then that's how we started traveling together, and we visited, I think, several places like sightseeings. It was a few years ago, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. We went to maybe Agra Fort. I think we went to the Taj Mahal, or maybe some other places. But anyways, once we got to the hostel, he was like, oh yeah, do you have a double room? I was like, oh wait, I don't want a double room. I want a bed in a dormitory.
Oh.
So yeah, and then after that I kind of tried to like keep the distance, and yeah, it's but I mean it wasn't like yeah, maybe I was quite direct. But I mean,
Yeah.
no, actually, I think if you're like at the reception and they say, oh no, I'm fine, I'll just get this, I think
Yeah. Yeah.
actually that's the way it should be. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you sugarcoat it too much, some people don't.
Don't
Some
understand.
people,
Yeah.
don't understand. So it might, in this case, I think it was the perfect choice to just be direct. Like, actually, I would prefer this. I don't think it was anything rude from your side, or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think for me though, what I really enjoyed was when I traveled to India too.
Mhm.
Because I was there. I mean, I traveled alone, but my main purpose there was to go for a wedding.
Oh,
And
okay.
what I really enjoyed was the Indian hospitality.
Oh,
Like,
yes. Mm-hmm.
they're so fantastic. Like, they picked me up from the airport, and I didn't even know, but the guy already booked us a hotel and he paid for the hotel.
Oh, it was your friend inviting you for his wedding?
Yes,
Oh,
and
okay.
I had no idea about this hospitality. Like, if I were to have a wedding and I ask you to come for my wedding, I'm not gonna pay for your stuff. It's just an invitation, right?
Right,
But
right.
like, the Indian hospitality was just unique in that sense where everything was settled for me. Like, I came there thinking like, okay, I might have an adventure in India because it's I'm here alone. I only came for the wedding, but he already had friends um, who came, friends settled to come and pick me up. And after they picked me up, they brought me to a hotel and say like, you don't have to worry about paying for the hotel because it's already paid for. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't need you to pay for the hotel. I'm honored to come for your wedding. It's like, no, 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 no. We are honored to have you to come for our wedding. And
Mhm.
then he also got people to bring me around, to shop for wedding clothes. Like, dude, this is too much. It's like, it was really exceptional service, I would say. Like, not something I'm accustomed to, and
Right.
maybe wouldn't have worked for every other country, but for India, it was. I would say I really thought of India a lot when it comes to my travel, just because of how incredible their hospitality was. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it's
Yeah, actually, yeah, I totally agree. I also I have a friend. He's
mm,
Indian as well, and he invited me actually and my sisters for his wedding.
wow. Your
Yeah,
sisters as
yeah.
well?
I mean, he knows my sisters as well. He
Ah,
came
okay.
to visit, like he came to travel in Kyrgyzstan a few times already, and yeah, he invited all of us to his wedding. And once we booked the tickets, and then he was like, okay, I booked the hotel room for you. We were like, oh no, it's okay, we will find ourselves something. Like, no, 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 don't worry, just let me know what's your preference. Would you like a double room, or I don't know, triple room? Or I mean, they were in the beginning, there were three of us, or single rooms. He was just asking us, like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, we could just take a single room and stay all like three of us
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's fine. But eventually, actually, his wedding didn't work out. It got canceled. And by that,
Oh,
yeah. So, but by that time also, we already booked the tickets,
yeah,
and it was non-refundable. So, and then he was like, "Oh, I'll pay for your tickets." I was like, "Oh no, it's fine."
yeah,
I mean, it could be interesting experience. It would be interesting
yeah,
experience as well for my sisters because they haven't been there. I've been already, but they haven't. So, anyways, we went to India, and because I already promised my sisters that we will go to a wedding,
yeah.
I started looking for fake invitations
Oh,
once, yeah, before I got there. And I actually found several agencies that can give you invitation for a wedding. I think it would cost you like around $40 or $50 per person.
yeah.
And yeah, and you could go to Indian wedding. They would pick you up, take you to the wedding and bring you back. And I was like, oh, probably, I would probably need to use that, like, yeah, that option. And
Yeah.
at that time, also, just a few days before I left, I had a reservation at the hostel from some Indian family, and they just asked me like some questions for the reservation and some things to do, and I was just WhatsApping with them. And I was actually WhatsApping with the daughter of this family,
Yeah.
and she was in India at that time,
Yes.
in Delhi. And yeah, and then I was messaging, and then I was like, all of a sudden, I asked her, "Hey, do you have any weddings by chance, like coming up soon?" And she was like, "Yeah, we have a wedding in a few days." And then she was like, "Let me get back to you." And then she got back to me. She's like, "And yeah, actually, you can come with us if you want." I
Wow.
was
So
like,
you didn't
"Wow."
have to go for the fake invitation anymore.
Yeah,
You had
yeah,
a
and then
wedding
yeah,
together.
most importantly, we would have somebody, who would like, well, like I kind of had a connection with with her. And then
Yeah.
first she invited us to her house, so we met
Yeah.
her parents and her brother and her, and yeah. And then after that, she even landed, I think, yeah, she landed a sari. Well, actually, she was going to, but actually, we had all three of us. We had saris.
Nice.
We even
Okay.
prepared because we thought that we were gonna go to my friend's
Yeah.
wedding. We
Yeah.
took some Indian classes here in Bishkek,
Oh,
and yeah,
wow.
we prepared the dance because like it was going to be part of our present. So
Oh,
yeah, and then it worked out that she booked a car. We just paid for the car.
yeah.
Place actually was quite far from Delhi. It took us maybe an hour to get there,
Yeah.
and it was like it was a place, I don't remember the name, but only banquet halls were there, only
Yeah.
weddings. Like wherever you look, always there's something
For
going on.
sure.
So many people. So I think if you look like a local, and if you want to crash a wedding, I think it's possible. There's so many people, and usually, Indians, they invite like up to, I don't know, 1,000 people for their wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's hard to notice if you look like a local.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think but I think if you go to a wedding, they're actually very honored to have foreigners
Mm,
come for their wedding.
mm.
Because I've seen, like, when we went for this wedding, right? My friend's wedding, the wedding lasted for 2 days.
Oh.
Yeah, and the other wedding we went there for, he invited us to his sister's wedding, and it was for
Mhm.
3 days.
Oh
That
wow, you
was
had
for
two
3 days.
weddings at one spot.
Yeah, so I
Wow.
had like three Indian costumes for the wedding, and people were making a fuss out of us. Like, they were happy to see foreigners in the wedding, actually.
Mm,
um I think for them it's like, oh, it's such an honor to have some other people from another country come and share their custom.
mm,
So it was very incredible experience. And um I in Singapore we have Indian weddings too, but the weddings in India are totally different. They came in a horse. I remember there was a wedding that came in an elephant. It was, I was like, wow, it's very magnificent and really over, at the top, fantastic weddings, and the food is incredible.
mhm.
And they always want to take photos with you. It's like, if you don't look local, they always want to take a photo. Like, oh, okay,
Right.
they don't know you, they've never spoken to you, but let's take a photo anyway.
Photo. Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm sure you'll get the same as well, right? Because
Yeah, 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 I had it
yeah,
as
you,
well.
you look very different as well from them, and to them it's exotic. So yeah, India was a very wonderful experience. I
Yeah.
would I would go back there again, because I think India has places like, like you said, Agra. You went there already. Have you been to Rajasthan?
Yes, I have. Hmm.
Yeah, the Rajasthan, Jaipur. I
Yeah.
heard those are, yeah, and I think one of the other places in South India, Kerala,
Hmm.
would be nice to visit too. I heard it's a very colorful city.
Kerala was quite interesting actually. I've spent in total maybe I spent about 2 months, like not like at once, but coming and like back and forth. And in Kerala, I arrived to Fort Cochin. I think is the
Yeah,
capital of Kerala, and like I saw people like, for example, when I was in Delhi, right?
yeah,
So many people staring at me, somebody some people want to take a picture, and yeah, at first I thought something was wrong, but
yeah.
it was a little bit like it felt weird, the first time I arrived. But in Kerala, nobody looked at me. People were so like,
Used to
yeah,
used
they
to
were so used
foreigner.
to maybe, yeah. But also, I saw people jogging in the morning, like they were working out, like jogging, running, and I was like, wow, they're so progressive here, in Kerala, and yeah, it looked like so much developed actually.
Yeah, yeah. I
With,
would travel to that place. I think it's quite a touristy place.
I haven't seen many tourists, but I've seen a few. Yeah, I
Okay.
I remember I was staying in the guest house there, and
Mm.
I think most of the people staying at that guest house, they were like older people, like maybe
Mm.
past
Mm.
50, and they were not typical like backpackers.
Okay, like retired already and
Maybe, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm,
Yeah, I think I would definitely go back to India. So many places to visit. Just waiting for
yeah.
the borders to open, isn't it?
When do you think you will travel? Like once this borders will open, you will travel right away, or would you wait some time?
Well, we actually have a ticket to Australia in
Oh,
Perth, but
okay.
we had to cancel the trip because the borders are closed due to
Mm,
the virus. But
mhm.
I think that will be the first place we're gonna go to once the
Right.
borders are open. And yeah, it would be nice to visit Europe too, because my partner's from there. He's from France, so I think it'll be nice to see more of the area and
Mm,
how it is. But yeah, in short trips, maybe solo tripping to Bali. So many places to go. You can't decide. Yeah, but I can't. I
right.
think just can't wait for the borders to open. It's very stifling to be at home
Mm-hmm.
and like doing nothing, not doing nothing, but just stifling to be at home and surrounded by your four walls, and you're looking at all these other places in the other country. It's like so nice. And I think now your country will be in my list. What is there to visit in
In Kyrgyzstan,
Kyrgyzstan? Yeah. Any special?
any
Things?
special? Well, so in Central Asia, there are
Yeah.
5 countries. There is Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan.
Yes.
And if you compare like Kyrgyzstan out of these countries, it's most popular for horse riding, hiking, um, yeah, for adventurous like sports, for example, paragliding,
Yeah.
rafting. Yeah, quite a lot of people come here for active sports, and usually the typical traveler is probably somewhere between 20 to 35 years old,
So that's
and
a young market.
yeah, it's a
Mm.
quite young market actually that Kyrgyzstan attracts, and mainly because of its nature and mountains. So it's
Mm.
about 94% of the country are mountains, and
Wow.
more than 90% of the territory is above 1,000 meter sea level. So actually, wherever you go, you see mountains all the time. Even when you live even when you stay at the capital, in Bishkek, you
Yeah.
can still see like if you are living in the apartment, you can
Yeah.
still see the mountain range um,
Wow.
on the top. Yeah. So yeah, and then we have one of the highest peaks in the world. For example,
Yes. Yes.
it's Peak Lenin and Peak Victory, which are over 7,000 meters. So quite a lot of people come for like mountaineering.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's for culture. I guess it's also interesting. It's like country of nomads, I would say.
Mm. Mm.
Like we don't really have nomads actually. What is a nomad, right? Nomad is somebody who like keeps moving from place to place,
Exactly. Yeah.
year round. And that was the case for us in older times. But before we became part of Russia, when we became part of Russia, people started settling down slowly.
Mm.
But nowadays we have semi-nomads, meaning that from May till October they go up to the mountains, and then in October they come down and stay in the village.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, because it gets too cold in the mountains, and over time people are more and more used to the comfort, because
Yes.
it's really cold to stay in a yurt in winter. Like you have to heat it all the time, and yeah, in some parts of the country it can get down to minus 40.
Mm.
So it can get down to quite cold temperatures. But in winter it's good for skiing if you guys like skiing and like winter sports.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, and it's quite scenic as well. You can still do some light hiking. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but mainly also why I like winter is because it's a slow, like low season here.
Mm.
So most likely you won't see any tourists. If
Okay.
you
So
don't mind the
winter
cold.
is a good time.
Winter is a good time if you don't mind the cold, if you want to do some skiing, and if you want to see more of culture, probably. Like, oh, you just want to go drive through, right? And maybe with only some light hiking. But if
Okay.
you want to focus on hiking, trekking, I know, like maybe not one day of horse riding or one day hiking
Yeah.
like in winter, but several multi-day horse riding, multi-day hiking, then summer is the best.
Ah, okay. And what do you prefer? I mean, what do you suggest for, say, for a first timer, for a first time solo packer? Would it be better to see the outdoors in the summer or just to experience the culture in the winter?
Mm. Well, it depends on what kind of traveler
Okay.
you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you ask me like what's my favorite time would probably, and my favorite tour is 3 day horse riding to Songkol Lake.
Yeah.
It's a lake at 3,000 meters above the sea level,
Mhm.
and I like going there in winter because like you get to meet the shepherds. Like because the thing is like in summer tourism is developing, so more and more people are setting up the yurts. Like they're not shepherds, but they set up the yurts in order to have the tourists coming
Okay.
in and provide kind of like bed and breakfast. But in winter, only shepherds stay. So yeah, you can meet the shepherds and then do horse riding. Like you feel like you're alone in the whole mountain range. Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you sold us. I'm coming in winter. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think you will
I
enjoy it,
nice
especially if you like
experience.
nature. Yeah,
Yes, yes, and culture too, you know. It kind of, the way you describe it kind of reminds me a lot like Mongolian type.
kind of. Yeah,
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, Inner Mongolia was quite, I think I have you been to Inner Mongolia?
Inner Mongolia I haven't been to, but I've heard that it's very similar with China. While Mongolia, Outer
They're
Mongolia
so
is very
different.
different. Mm.
Yes, it's so different from the Mongolia that I expect or those that I've seen. Inner Mongolia feels really a lot more like China. And I mean, we went horse riding, etc. But it feels to me very, it's just very different um,
Mm.
in terms of what I expected. But it's still nice. They still have yurts. That's where we stayed. But everything was set up for tourists, which
Mm.
me was missing the authentic part of
Mm.
the experience. I would think Mongolia is a bit more authentic, and Kyrgyzstan, is that how you pronounce it?
Kyrgyzstan?
Kyrgyzstan, yeah, it seems a lot like that, maybe different a little. So yes, I'll be looking forward to going.
Well, I
Yeah,
hope you stay safe.
you
And
too.
yeah, it was really good talking to you. So stay safe, take care, and keep in touch. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. So
Definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Let's keep in
keep in
touch,
touch.
and
Yeah,
yeah, when I come to your country, I'm gonna hit you up.
yeah, sure. Hit me up. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Sure. Great. Thank you for having me, Aigul
Okay.
and Solopacker.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.